Welcome to the show. Today, uh, I have a tough topic, which may end up getting me in trouble again with YouTube, but it's all important. I'm going to, once again, in the Sutliffian report here, I'm going to delve into the subject of hate in Islam. And that seems to get me in trouble, but I can't ignore this. Um, so I'm going to explain to you why I'm going to be getting into this in a little while when I do start to present. This is the month of Ramadan, is one of the main reasons I am presenting on this topic today. This is the main month for jihad. This is the month they feel like they get double their rewards. And this is what the Islamic scriptures state. And I'm going to present some of you with stuff you probably already have a clue about, but I keep talking. I want you to know that today's topic is going to be related to the media. That's where this is all going to come from because of of a job I may end up with, and because of what I've been discovering in the media. But because this is a Christian news show, I want to get into the passage that I actually sent out today as part of the devotional. If you'd like to receive your daily devotional, just go to paulsutliff.com, go down to the and send me a message through there, and I'll add you to the mailing list. So today we're reading Matthew 3:13-17. Then comes Jesus from Galilee to Jordan unto John to be baptized of him. But John forbade him, saying, I have need to be baptized of you, and you come to me? But Jesus answered and said unto him, Let it be so for now. For thus it becomes us to fulfill all righteousness. Then he let him. And Jesus, when he was baptized, went up straightway out of the water, and lo, the heavens were opened unto him, and he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove and lighting upon him. And lo, a voice from heaven saying, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Well, the ministry of the Lord here begins not as one having authority and rightfully taking his place, but as one who needs to serve, one who needs to begin with humility. John himself recognizes that it is Jesus who is the pure and holy one, the one who is mightier than he is. Jesus is the one whom John had said in verse 11, I indeed baptize you with water unto repentance, but he that comes after me is mightier than I, whose shoe I'm not worthy to bear. He shall baptize you with the Holy Ghost and with fire. Jesus could have come and simply taken over, but instead submits to the act of baptism, even though he has no sin. He does this as an example of what should be done. He does this as an action of humility, an action of how man should live by putting humility before honor. This submission results in something words have to be made up to describe the first appearance of, and I put this appearance here, of all three in the Godhead. Well, the appearance, well, we hear a voice, we see the Holy Spirit, and there is Jesus. All three in the Godhead there at once. Can you imagine being present and hearing these words spoken by God? Would you want to run to John the Baptist afterwards and ask him to explain what happened? I know I would have if I was there, or to Jesus. I don't know what I would have been wanting to. I don't know if I would have stopped following Jesus if I'd been there. But again, that would have been because of a sign. How much faith would I have had? But the biggest and simplest thing that happened is Jesus starts his ministry through an action of humility. An action today deemed leading by example. An action that results in the public hearing of God's voice saying, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Dear Lord Jesus, you are truly more than I could ever imagine. And still, somehow you found it important to love even me, Lord. We ask, Lord, that you would work on us and show us how to share this love with others. Lord, help us to be those humble spirits so that we can lead others to you. In Jesus' name, amen. Now, I have a lot of information to share, and I'm just going to get right into it. Some of this stuff to me, I have to admit, was kind of shocking. And when I was doing my research on this, I I just kind of felt overwhelmed, and I started to look at a particular person in the beginning, and when I started to look at and I'm trying to find my document now, just a second. It's the joy of having too many things open. What I mean by this is the person I was looking into is a guy named Velshi. Ali Velshi is a TV news show host, and I'm going to start with sharing my screen first. Let me pull that up, and oh, the joys of technology. Here we go. All right, and here we go. And Ali Velshi. Now, this is a guy who currently works for MSNBC. He worked for Al Jazeera. Now, Al Jazeera is the mouthpiece of the Muslim Brotherhood, known for its anti-Semitism and promotion of Islamic terrorism. Is it kind of, when you have that kind of a background, is that really the kind of thing that a company that's involved in public relations and news really wants that kind of reputation? That's something we should all be thinking about. What is MSNBC thinking when they're hiring these people who worked for a foreign influence operation, which is what Al Jazeera was? I mean, that was one of the complaints. They were an influence from Qatar, and it was being argued that consistently over and over and over again. We need to think about these things. But let me get a little bit more into Ali Velshi. This is what I had put together, and I'm not going to be putting it all up on the screen. Let me just see if I've got the next one here. All right. So, John Rossimondo of the Investigative Project on Terrorism described Al Jazeera as the terrorist propaganda network with good reason in 2017. Even the New York Times covered the concerns about Arab nations. Concerns of Arab nations. Consider this. I mean, we're talking about Islamic nations, about Al Jazeera being a mouthpiece for terrorism. In Rossimondo's article, he pointed out that the Muslim Brotherhood ideologue Sheikh Yusuf Qaradawi had a show that encouraged the Arab Spring, which was an uprising of violence by Muslim Brotherhood members and other followers of Islam against their governments. Velshi's network, Al Jazeera, did not censor or prevent Qaradawi's repeated endorsements. Oops, I'm on the wrong page here. Sorry, which was an uprising of violence by the Muslim Brotherhood members. Okay, bye-bye. Velshi's network did not censor or prevent Qaradawi's repeated endorsements of martyrdom operations, which are suicide bombers. Because many of Qaradawi's actions on Al Jazeera were prior to Velshi entering employment with Al Jazeera in the United States, it must be thought about that Velshi agreed with the positions of Al Jazeera before entering employment with them. And I say that because when you enter the field of news and you're looking at a new company, one of the things you do is you research them. I'm interested in working for a company. I tend to look and see, do I want to work for them? Would they give me a bad reputation? Well, Al Jazeera seemed to have been the network that Velshi really wanted, and you'll see that as get into it. Now, the other thing John Rossimondo wrote, he wrote another article entitled "Al Jazeera America," and the article is Al Jazeera America aired pro-Palestinian propaganda. Now, this was a little while back, but he writes about this during the 2014 Gaza crisis. AJAM, the American Al Jazeera America host Wajat Ali, pushed Hamas's talking points. Now, that's a terrorist. It's a United States recognized terrorist entity. And they were pushing this in the United States. Think about it. And this was during the time that Velshi worked here. So he must have approved of it or been willing and consenting. Something to think about. I mean, talking points about population density without a single reference to how the terror group used mosques and civilian buildings to launch rockets, not once. Ali Velshi worked, again, I keep saying this, at Al Jazeera during that time. Now, this year, Ali Velshi has continued doing the work of Al Jazeera by writing highly inflammatory anti-Semitic articles, but he is now being covered for by his other Islamic colleagues at MSNBC. Mehdi Hassan wrote an opinion piece to support him in some things. Now, I want to, before I get into that, I want to bring up one more article, and let me bring up this piece here before I get into this. Ali Velshi is someone I would not trust with any part of my being. And that's something. And come on, work. Sometimes things work, sometimes they don't. There we go. All right. I want to share with you this piece about Al Jazeera being the mouthpiece of Muslim Brotherhood. And the reason I want to share this is because of the time this article came out, 2014. Velshi started working there in 2013. Now, this is 8 years ago. Egypt charged 20 Al Jazeera journalists with belonging to the Muslim Brotherhood. Okay. Egyptian prosecutors say they charged 20 Al Jazeera journalists, including 2 British citizens, with belonging to the Mohammed Morsi's Muslim Brotherhood, fabricating news reports and tarnishing Egypt's reputation abroad. Did Al Jazeera in America do that? Absolutely. Were any of these journalists charged? No. But there were others who were, even some from Britain who were charged. Investigations showed the defendants created a media network headed by an Egyptian Canadian Muslim Brotherhood member, Fahmy, that has specialized in creating video scenes contrary to reality and airing them through Qatari Al Jazeera English to distort Egypt's international reputation, the prosecution alleged. Others charged, including disturbing public peace, instilling terror, harming the general interest of the country. And again, this is Al Jazeera. They were very anti-Semitic. And I want you to think, what is this? What is this saying? Is this a group that we can trust? And the absolute answer is no. Muslim Brotherhood, you cannot trust. So this is scary, scary stuff. Thank you for joining us, Darcy. All right. So Mehdi Hassan gets out there and he wrote this piece, and I have read this and read this and read this. And you're my first time going through this piece of what he covers, what he writes here, I had to stop and think. I read this about 10 times before I start to see something different. Now, Mehdi Hassan is another agent of anti-Semitism with a platform on MSNBC. He also worked for, you guessed it, Al Jazeera. Now, he's writing protectively of Velshi. He says, he quote, is my award-winning MSNBC colleague, Ali Velshi, who recently said and wrote that the idea that it's even remotely controversial to call what Israel has imposed on Palestinians a form of apartheid is laughable. And is an anti-Semite as well? Is he an anti-Semite as well? Ali, incidentally, is the child of brown South African parents. Okay, nobody cares that he's brown. Nobody cares that he's white. Let's think about this. Is he saying that this calling Israel a form of utilizing apartheid is laughable? Now, again, I had to read this 5 times to pick up. He's really not saying that. I was surprised. So let's take a look at what Velshi actually said. And I'm just going to put this larger so everybody can see it. All right. Here's what happened. The proof that Mediasan is acting as an agent of anti-Semitism. Here's what Velshi actually wrote. Ali Velshi subtitled his article for May 17th, 2021 as "We have to be able to say that Israel's treatment of Palestine is apartheid, period." Think about that. Does that sound anti-Semitic? Absolutely. Mediasan goes so far as to incorrectly quote his colleague in order to protect him. Here's what Velshi actually said. The calling the status imposed on Palestinians a form of apartheid is even remotely controversial, well, is laughable. One look at a current map of Israel, Gaza, and the occupied territories conjures up only one other example. Apartheid-era South Africa and the Bantusans, or homelands into which Black Africans were forced. Palestinians cannot freely travel to see relatives or do business in other Palestinian cities without passing through highly intrusive and often humiliating Israeli checkpoints. Well,
whose fault's that?
I'm sorry?
I said, whose fault is it that they have to go through humiliating, quote unquoting, and intrusive checkpoints? If you weren't blowing them up and shooting them every time you turned around, they might want to let out to give you freedom of movement. But every time that you do it, you're given freedom of movement. They tend to go to blow people up and shoot them. I mean, this is just absolutely ridiculous. Just listening to this show is ticking me off. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is what bothers me. This is why I'm looking at this. This is hate speech, people. They gave you half the information, and then they're passing themselves off as journalists, and they have this platform. They're out there on MSNBC spewing these lies and hatred, and it's got to be stopped, people. It's got to be stopped. These people this is the destruction.
Well, to call it apartheid, again, is blatant dishonesty. It is lying to you. Apartheid is nothing like what South Africa had compared to what is going on in Israel today. It's nothing like it. In South Africa, you had a small minority ruling over a much larger Black majority based on based on their race and their status, and they would force them into these communities where they would live in squalor. That's apartheid. What goes on in Israel today is nothing like that.
Well, there's one more thing. Hold on. There's one more thing here. In South Africa, apartheid was the law. It was a legal thing, correct?
Yes, yeah. That was the social construct. It was the way that the society was set up. It was meant to benefit the white people at the expense of the Black people. It was a form of 21st century enslavement, if there was a way to do it, and that's the way you would do it. And the entire world protested, boycotted South Africa, rightly so, and it finally ended. But to say that Israel is an apartheid state and to compare Israel to South Africa is patently disingenuous and dishonest, because the Palestinian, quote unquote, the Muslims in Israel share the same rights as the Jews do in Israel.
So wait a minute, can they vote?
Yes, they can vote. As a matter of fact, they have a Muslim on the Supreme Court. They have them in the Knesset. They can do all these things. I mean, it isn't like they're telling them that you have to go live in this land over. Muslims in Israel can do all these things. The problem lies is in the Gaza and in the West Bank. Two territories, oh, by the way, that Israel had every right to take from Jordan during the 67 war, because why? Jordan attacked them from them, but they're sharing it now with the Palestinians that supposedly inhabited that land prior to 1948 or whatever. But the bottom line is that they're given land in there and they're allowed to live in those lands over there. The only thing that the Israelis would ask, don't blow us up. Don't plant bombs on the roadway. Don't come shooting us up.
Israel has even gone so far as to say, look, you can have this property. We'll even be willing to let you call it like another country if you do one thing. Recognize Israel's right to exist. That's all they've had to do. And this is one of the main reasons why I consider this anti-Semitic danger. This is what's gotten me going. And
Well, if it's not qualified and it's not called out, it's going to continue. Just as soon as you start calling these dishonest pigs out for what they are, the sooner they're going to shut their yaps and quit lying about it. But to say that is a form of apartheid, again, is absolutely dishonest. Well, and also, I would add one more thing. The Israel guys, that YouTube channel that I turned everybody on to, these guys go in and they debunk all kinds of these myths as far as, well, there's not enough housing in the West Bank for the Palestinians there. Horse malarkey. They've gone through entire towns that have been built, and 80% of the apartments are empty. They're living in squalor. They're supposed to be being pulled around by donkeys on these buggies. Horse malarkey. 3,000. They went there and they counted how many vehicles coming down the highway in one day were these high-end BMWs, Mercedes Benzes, Range Rover, all of these cars. 3,000 of them in one day. Now, of course, there were some Yugos or whatever the heck it is. But to say that these people are impoverished, to say that their rights are being repressed, is absolutely a lie from the pit of hell.
I won't say their rights aren't being repressed, because that would mean that the people who are in charge of those areas are repressing their rights, which mean Muslims are repressing Muslims. It would have nothing to do with Israel then.
Okay, and here's another question. Go to Gaza. They've given them full autonomy in Gaza. And when do they sue? They elect Hamas and they start firing rockets at Israel. But if you want to be completely honest and completely fair, if you're a Jew, go try and walking down the street in the Gaza Strip, and you tell me what's going to happen to you. You'll never make it out of there alive. Don't give me this crap that the Israelis are persecuting the Jew or the Palestinians. They're protecting themselves.
Yeah, this is the stuff that I have actually seen taught in a classroom, in a social studies classroom. In New York State, at one point, required it to be taught. I don't know if it's still required. I will not teach that because I know better. When it was taught, I put up an Israeli flag next to my desk so everybody could see it. And they'd ask me, why is that there? I have friends in Israel. I know better. That's what I would tell them. Yeah. I know that this information is wrong. So I'm going to put up the next slide here. And this should, and let me just get that back up. Here we go. So it's not just this bad information, this anti-Semitism, this willful ignorance that accepts anti-Semitism as a norm. This is the upsetting thing. And I'm the guy saying never again. Well, stop willful ignorance. So I just saw this up here. And this Ajmal Masroor on April 8th, this April 8th, with the mayor of London. He was meeting with the mayor of London, Sadiq Khan. Now there's a picture. Writing in 2012, Masroor praised the leader of the designated terror organization, true and honest leader, who is apparently loved by his people naturally. Okay, you really want to get your people, you want your politicians getting their pictures next to guys who love terrorists. That Hamas is a declared terrorist entity in the UK. This is the mayor of London. Masroor has served as a regular speaker at fundraising events for terror-tied Islamic charities such as Children in Deen. Now, I keep saying this over and over again. Whenever you see a, quote, foster or adoption entity within Islam, you can place your bets that this is probably being used to support terrorism. Guess what? This particular organization supported Hamas proxies, and it was used by Muslims in the early years of the Syrian civil war to smuggle jihadis and cash. And this is all publicly available information. Yet Sadiq Khan, who is Muslim, probably had no problem with schmoozing with this man, knowing that he was involved. Should your politicians, should the people who vote have an issue? Absolutely. And I want to thank Sam Westrup for putting this article out. I just got it today, and this is part of what has been getting me going. I think it's time we stop accepting things. It's time to expose the evil of hatred. Here's another one. This is from my friend Joe Kaufman. Miami Imam Musis. Why has Allah not destroyed America and all homosexuals? Is what his article is. So this man, and I wanted actually what I was looking for when I was looking for this is you hear statements by imams, by Muslims who will say, I will hate what Allah hates. So listen, this is what he said. The people are from two groups, kuffar or Muslims, believers or disbelievers. I decided to love the believers and hate the non-believers. Very simple. If I love Allah more than anything, then what that love necessitates is that I will love what Allah loves and I will hate what Allah hates. Keep thinking about this. I went a little too far. Hold on. This gets scary. Keep going.
Sorry, Paul. I was eating Doritos. Sorry.
All right. Oh, I didn't see anything. So, I'm not going up to a Christian to tell him. Again, he says, I'm not going up to a Christian to tell him I hate you. But that doesn't deny the fact that I do. I don't hate him because his head is big or he's skinny or fat or his skin color. I still hate him as a being. Oh, notice, yeah, he's hating all non-Muslims.
So what's his justification for that?
The Quran, and Muhammad, the way we're going to get into that. So that's what this is a man leading a mosque. Joe Kaufman points out that this man leading this mosque is dangerous. Why? Because he's teaching hatred. And this is extremely important to grasp. This hatred is, you think about, he talks about when this guy preaches, there are children in the room running around, playing, or, there are children there. And there's videos of this. This is where Joe lives in South Florida, and he sees this, and he keeps track of it. And I'm very thankful that somebody is doing that.
Okay, so you have somebody that's in charge of a mosque. Now, put the shoe on the other foot. And picture this as a Christian pastor saying that I hate Muslims. What type of outcry do you think that would erupt in our country today if that was ever done? And this is the hypocrisy, not only of the media, of course, not reporting something like this accurately, but of the Muslims themselves. Where is the universal condemnation calling for this guy's removal from a mosque? The two people, Muslims, a believer. I decided to love the believers and hate the non-believers. Very simple.
So isn't this reason for Islamophobia? I mean, the fear that his hatred. What does hatred inspire? And if you're encouraging it, now you're talking about violations of law. If he's doing this and he's preaching this, then he could be guilty of inciting violent acts.
Exactly. And this would be a call to have the license for the mosque to be pulled, or for whatever zoning requirements they have that pull the lease. And if you're going to be preaching, think about this. You're going to be preaching this kind of stuff and saying this is from Allah, this is from their holy books. And you see, I'm about as afraid as these guys as I am from the boogeyman in my closet. I'm not. There's no phobia here going on. But when you start talking about people having a hatred towards a belief system, well, this is exactly an indicator, because by their fruits you will know who they are. And this is exactly what you get from the people who follow that book and follow the sunnah of that man. This is not a surprise for you and I, anyway.
So, like I said, I'm not too scared of getting another hate speech strike, because I'm talking about hate. I'm exposing it. And if that's what works for YouTube, I'm tired of seeing this, and I'm tired of Americans in particular, American pastors in particular, not saying stop. My pastor says what he says, and he'll tell you that, look, Christians are to love. Our job is to love. And what's this man's job? He's apparently taking it as his job to teach, hey, let's talk about why. That's where I think we need to start getting towards that. So here's a piece that I have, part of my book, The Cancer of Civilization Jihad. I begin to discuss this. Now, there's this book written by Sheikh Mohammed Saeed Al-Qahtani, who is an Islamic scholar based in Saudi Arabia, and this book is called Awala wal Bara. I'm hoping that's the correct pronunciation. It's published in 1999 in English, but I want you to think about this book. This is, to me, a very, very dangerous book. Now, there's reasons why I say this is dangerous. Now, I've got to pull up the piece I have here to read. According to the author, al-Bara, in Arabic language, so we got that. This is the second part of that, Awala al-Bara. Al-Bara means severance. Severance is to leave off something. It is to walk away from something or to distance oneself from it. So what is the Muslim severing himself from? What is he severing himself from in this belief? It is the things and people that are not of Islam. Al-Qahtani refers to Quran 2:257 to clarify this. Allah is the ally of those who believe. He brings them out from darkness into the light. And those who disbelieve, their allies are Tagut. Excuse me. They take them out of the light into darkness. Those are the companions of the fire. They will abide eternally therein. Tagut is a reference to those who do not worship Allah, non-Muslims. We, the non-Muslims, are seen as the companions of the fire. The Quran here says non-Muslims will abide in fire, hence the reference to eternal fire. Al-Qahtani also believes Muslims must be separate from disbelievers in every way. He quotes from the Quran to prove this point. And he says, and if you turn away, he will exchange you for some other folk. That's Quran 47:38. Keep thinking about this, people. It gets worse. Let's talk about prayer. This is probably one of the ones that gets me angry. I get really angry when I start to think about this. And, when I talk about hate, we should be angry that people are preaching and teaching this. We should not be supportive in our anger. We should be angry that this is happening and we're doing nothing. That's why I'm here. That's why we're here. We should be exposing this. Rad, I'll put you back in. Sorry about that. This prayer that is repeated 17 times a day. That's this first surah. In this first surah, let's just skip down to verse 6. The way of those whom you have graced, which is supposed to be the Muslims, not those whom the wrath is against. So 17 times a day, Muslims speak of hatred of their God against the Jews. That's anti-Semitism. It's enforced 17 times a day for every single Muslim on the planet who decides to pray. Think about it. Now, nor the lost ones. Does that sound like hate? Well, it sounds like you're talking about confused, but there is definitely hatred expressed towards Jews. Wrath. Wrath is anger. And this is who's responsible for this? According to this, it is Allah. It's not Muslims. It is Allah that has this hatred. That's in the first surah. So let's talk about where this begins in Muhammad. And I recommend this book. It's called The Origins of the Islamic State. It's a book by al-Baladuri. I have this. It's translated by Philip Hitti. I have a slightly different cover for this book, but I love this book. because it's very factual. And if you don't have it, I do recommend that you pick it up. So I want to talk about Muhammad's arrival in Yathrib and how it was reported in this book. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about what's not exactly said in this book. It's in the book, it says, it is reported that the arrival of the prophet in Al-Madinah, which was called Yathrib at the time, he wrote an agreement and made a covenant with the Jews of Yathrib. The Jews, however, were the first to violate the covenant, and the prophet expelled them from Al-Madinah. The first land that the prophet conquered was that of the Banu Nadir. And see, this is kind of off too, because they're skipping another tribe. Conquered. Now they skipped another tribe. We'll talk about that. And this is, look at the title of this book, people. This is what originally caught my eyes. The Origins of the Islamic State. Let's keep going. This comes from, I took this from my book, but it's also quoting Ibn Ishaq. So here's what al-Baladuri hid from the story of Muhammad arriving in Yathrib. Things got so bad, Muhammad began to leave Mecca and to find allies who allow his followers to find a safe haven. But it's important to understand that Muhammad wanted more than a safe haven to worship as he chose. He was seeking a military alliance. He wanted people to fight with him against Mecca. He wanted to be able to come back to Mecca and fight them. That was the deal. So one encounter didn't go so well, when he was trying to do this. According to Muhammad's first biographer, Ibn Ishaq, he went to Amir bin Sa'at tribe. When Firas gave his report to the people, he told them of a man of the Quraysh pretending to be a prophet, seeking protection and their military might so that he might attack and make Mecca submit to their leadership. Oh, it didn't work. But the people of Yathrib, it worked with. So the story that was first presented in this book that I just talked about, it wasn't accurate. And this is the reason why. Keep thinking about this. This is why I want this book in the hands of social studies teachers. What do you think, Eric? Is this working? All right, social studies teacher.
I wonder if we could have it sent out statewide.
Oh, if I could afford to do it, I would.
I'll call Des Moines tomorrow and find out.
Yeah, like Mecca, Yathrib was the home to more than one tribe. Not all of them got along, according to Ibn Ishaq. The Khazraj tribe lived side by side with Jewish tribes. Whenever there is difficulties that arose between them, the Jews would raise the Quraysh. Ibn Ishaq added that during these times, the Jewish tribes of Yathrib claimed a prophet would be sent to them, and they would one day kill the Quraysh under his leadership. Again, there's some things in Ibn Ishaq that make me curious about the story. And I'll get into them later, but Muhammad's timing couldn't have been better. Now, the Quraysh feared that what would happen if the Jewish tribe accepted Muhammad as their prophet, because he's out there claiming he's a prophet. This could lead to continual discussion of what the prophet named Muhammad could do for the Khazraj. According to Ibn Ishaq, there was no home of the Khazraj where Muhammad's name was not spoken of. They became followers of Muhammad. It became a goal of the tribe to seek out Muhammad before the Jewish tribe found him and claimed him as their own. There's a reason that would never happen. 1 year later, the Khazraj sent 12 men to an annual fair at Mecca to search for the prophet. When they found him, they gave the prophet a pledge of women and later agreed to a military alliance. That's when Muhammad decides to leave Mecca. Oh, he has his people leave, and he leaves in the middle of the night. So what this is actually, telling us is that Muhammad was committing treason against his own people, and he was willing to come back and fight them. Now, this comes directly from the Life of Muhammad, the Sir al-Rasul. Again, this is Ibn Ishaq's. So this is his first address. When he arrives, he shares this information with the Jews. He's going to talk to the Jews. Listen to how he talks to the Jews. All the Jews are gathered together in the market. He assembles them and he says, "Oh, Jews, beware, lest Allah bring upon you the vengeance that he brought upon the Quraysh." And he tells them to become Muslims. You know that I am your prophet who has been sent. I am a prophet that has been sent. You will that in your scriptures and Allah's covenant with you. Wait a minute. Let's think about this. I mean, think about what he said. You know that I am a prophet who has been sent? Well, they would have to search their scriptures to find out if that's true. And if these people know their scriptures, they think this is laughable. So let's see. Do they know their scriptures? The Jews reply here, "Oh, Muhammad, you seem to think that we're your people. Do not deceive yourself, because you encountered a people with no knowledge of war and got the better of them. For by God, if we fight you, you'll find that we are real men." Well, Muhammad had just won his first battle, and all of a sudden he wants to come and kind of threaten the Jews. Oh, well, you're not tough enough. You can't scare us. That's the Jews here. They're smart. You don't dare fight us. Well, that's the truth, that he didn't dare. The Khazraj are from this point on referred to as the Ansari, which is another word for the helpers, the natives of Yathrib. They advised Muhammad they're not strong enough yet to deal with the Jews. So Muhammad has a divine revelation. This is the stuff that Aisha said, you have these convenient revelations. Oh, here's what he said. And this is from Quran 5:51. You who have believed, do not take the Jews and the Christians as protectors or friends or allies, comrades. You can change the word there as much as you want. They are friends to one another. And whoever among you takes them as one, so surely he is of them. So surely Allah does not guide the unjust people. Think about that. That's his response to not being strong enough. Oh, we can't have any association with you. What happened to Muhammad that made him leave Mecca? He got blacklisted, blackballed. None of his relatives were, none of his people were just being kept out. And this is Muhammad's response. He wants to blackball them. Now he has the power. This is scary. Again, this is the anti-Semitism of Muhammad. All right. So Muhammad goes to battle against the Jewish tribe, the Banu Kanuka. Now, this is the first tribe. It's not the Nad. This is where that first book that I introduced, The Origins of the Islamic State, isn't exact. This is where I say you have to be very close attention when you look at sources. I like to go to the older sources first. Why? Because a lot of times they're more accurate. This is what we talk about with the importance of primary sources, but unfortunately, Ibn Ishaq is not. It's the closest thing we have to a primary source of the time period, probably. So Muhammad battles the Jewish tribe, Banu Kanuka. According to the first seerah, the Banu Kanuka were the first of the Jews to break from their agreement with the apostle by assisting the enemy of Muhammad, and the apostle besieged them until they surrendered unconditionally. Now, Muhammad lets 700 men leave with their families and takes possession of their lands. So it wasn't Nadir that was the first. This is the first tribe, the Kanuka. Kanuka, I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Now we get to the Nadir. Muhammad starts this fight by declaring, "Kill any Jew that falls into your power." Is that like declaring war? Sure sounds like it. If we said to Canada, we said it to kill any Canadians who come across the border, would that be a declaration of war? I would say, what if the Canadians said that to us? Any Americans that come over here, we'll kill them. You don't want to know what would happen? There would be an all-out war. We'd kill them. It's
It would not end well for the Canadians. Just saying.
yeah, that's pretty much an understatement. There's far more people here, and it would be over quickly. I think it would just be a removal of just an idiot from power, and everybody else might live well after that.
I mean, a bunch of truckers in a bouncy house almost took down that government. Just saying.
And the socialists are still in power. That's the issue we got there as well as it is here. So this guy, Muhammad, I mean, there is a statement here that this Banu Nadir planned to kill Muhammad. There's a discussion about them actually having a rock, and they were going to, someone had a rock and was thinking about killing Muhammad. Okay. How does Muhammad know what someone is thinking? Well, remember, it's not Muhammad that's writing his biography, because by the time it's written, he's already dead. And it's hundreds of years later, which is even worse. How do they know what somebody thought a few hundred years ago? So this is where you have to sit there and have some humor about it, but that's their claim. That's their reason for this war, besides thinking they can kill them. So they surround and they fight. They surround the Banu Nadir for 14 days. Muhammad's people still are not greatly strong, but they're strong enough to cut them off from their sources, and these people leave on 600 camels. It's a lot of people. Okay. How about this one? Then you have the Banu Quraysh. It's claimed that the Banu Quraysh attempted to remain neutral and respect Muhammad and the Meccans at the Battle of the Trench. Islamic sources claim that the Jews supported them. Well, you've killed off two of my friends. When it killed off, what I mean, they kicked them out of Dodge. They've removed them. They're the last ones. Now, what would you be thinking? I mean, is the enemy of my enemy my friend at this point? Is that the thought that you would be having? The end result here is that every male with one pubic hair is executed. Approximately 600 to 800 men are killed and I say men with quotes because a boy with one pubic hair is still not a man. I'm sorry. They're buried in a trench, drugged.
Remember, that was the only qualification. Who makes that a qualification? What kind of sick perv makes the evidence of pubic hair as a qualification to be a man?
That is the simple answer here is that is the pervert named Muhammad who wants to see young boys' pants pulled down. I mean, that's the only answer I have for that.
I was just doing a check because everything that that we learn or know about Islam, for example, when you're reading from the Sirah of Ibn Ishaq, that was written down 100 years after the death of Muhammad. And then we don't even have a copy of that. Well, the only thing we have is what Ibn Hisham had said, and that wasn't compiled until over 2 centuries after Muhammad. And then when we start looking at these hadith that are compiled, they're written down and compiled 230 years later. I'm trying to find. I would like to know, and I went in and I'm trying to find evidence for the existence of these Banu Quraysh, the Banu Nadir, and the Banu Kanuka tribes. I would like to know if there's any evidence for these Jewish tribes in Yathrib in the 7th century.
No, that would be interesting.
I'm gonna drill down on that.
Yeah, considering. Yeah, that would be interesting. I think if we follow what they say,
I'm done following what they say.
I don't believe
a word of it anymore.
The evidence we might look for is actually the farming, because there's a claim here in Ibn Ishaq over and over again that the followers of Muhammad are terrible farmers. That would make and the followers. So we're even talking about the the Anasari were not great farmers, and the Jews were capable of this, and they
Well,
destroyed the
nobody's a
land.
great farmer in the desert for Pete's sake. Who's a successful farmer when you get 4 inches of rain a year? Nobody's gonna be a good farmer.
Well, Yathrib, I don't know. That's their best claim, and this is again another. This is. I mean, you've got to think about this. This is 600 to 800 men killed, and he has his child bride there to watch it all.
Yeah,
that's just a sick, demented man.
I'm gonna try to
romance, baby. That's pure romance, dude. You know what I'm saying? Come on, that's just sexy stuff right there, dude. Just saying.
So this next part, I wanted to go to the Quran and talk about some of these passages. I actually, Eric shared a lot of these with me, and I'm going through them, and I wanted to give some of the background. So what you've learned so far is this anti-Semitism exists mainly. Here's the real reason why. Because when Muhammad started to declare himself a prophet, and he started to say, well, you have to accept me as your prophet, the Jews laughed at him because, first of all, the first requirement to be a prophet of the Jews is to be of them. You have to be part of them. You can't come from some foreign land and say, okay, I'm one of your prophets. It doesn't work like that. It does not work like that. That violates Leviticus and Deuteronomy. Sorry. And if you don't know the law, which Muhammad continually demonstrated he didn't know the law, he wanted people to go fight with him on the Sabbath. What does he do? That's one of the reasons why he kills off the Quraysh. Yeah. So let's look at Surah 296. Surah 2 is supposed to be one of the first surahs after Muhammad reaches Yathrib, which is later called Medina. And here's one of the first surahs, ayahs from Surah 2. And surely you will find them, all of the people, most covetous of life. And from those who are polytheists, one of them wished he would live for 1,000 years, and it will not remove him from the torment to live long. And Allah sees what they do. So here's my thought on this. So Jews are wrong for respecting life. Is that what they're trying to say? That they want to live, that they love life? Let's look at the reverse of this. What do Islam's followers, why do they mock this? In Israel and wherever Islamic jihadis are, one of their claims is we love death more than they love life. So they're mocking the love of life. I love life. Most people I know love life. That's what enables them to go on for the next day. They have hope. This is the death of Muhammad seems to have a love of the death of hope, I guess is how I would interpret that. To mock Jews for having a love of life, something's wrong. Let's look at Al-Baqarah. This is still chapter 2. This is from verse 14. And when they fall in with those who believe, they say, we believe. But when they go apart to their devils, they declare, lo, we are with you. Verily, we did but mock. This is a statement that you can't trust the Jews. They change their minds back and forth. They'll say they're with you, and then they say they're without you. How about this one? Enjoin your righteousness upon mankind while you have yourselves forget to practice it. You are the readers of the scriptures. Have you no sense? Again, these are generalizations. This is part of the definition of hate speech. So does that mean YouTube should be banning any presentation of hate speech that has to do with any, from any source that would have to do with citing these verses? they would probably ban someone who talks about it and exposes anti-Semitism rather than ban the persons who promote it. That's what we have seen, unfortunately. How about this one? Correct. We'll go back to this 2:247. Woe to those who write the book with their hands. Then they say, this is from Allah, and purchase gain by its small price. So woe for what their hands wrote, and woe to them for what they are earning. Again, this verse claims that the Jews wrote their scriptures. It claims they are deceivers, but stops short of claiming that their scriptures are not accurate. The Jews claim, yes, humans wrote these. Yes, Moses wrote the first 5 books, but he was divinely inspired, and as well as the other writers of the Old Testament were divinely inspired to write this, that God worked through them. That's what they believe about their scriptures. And it's what Christians believe. But they're mocking them. This is it's supposed to be insulting. The funny thing is, the Jews take this differently. How about this one? And their prophet said to them, surely Allah has sent tall. What? I took this from Usama Dakdak's Quran, and I sat there laughing when I saw that word talut. And it means tall. So this is thought to be a reference to Saul as a king to you. They said, how can the kingdom be to him over us when we are more worthy of the kingdom than him? And he has no abundance of money. Really? Did they not read? The person who wrote this really did not know the book of Samuel. Apparently did not know that the people were begging for a king, and they liked the idea that this tall guy, Saul, big physical guy, manly man, was the guy chosen. And it was God that said, hey, you could have something better, but, this is your choice. But again, this is mocking Jews, and it's misinformation about what Jews believe to promote anti-Semitism. So this is disappointing all around. I'm just going to continue. He said, surely Allah has chosen him over you and has given him increase in knowledge and stature, and Allah has given his kingdom to who he wills, and Allah is large knowing. Doesn't sound like Allah knows the full story here. That's what we keep seeing. And again, what does this say about the Jews during the days of Samuel? It says that they think they should rule themselves. That's not even close to accurate. But again, this is an anti-Semitic statement. If it's made, again, these are supposed to be the words of Allah. So Allah is the author of anti-Semitic statements in the Quran, because all of the Quran is supposed to be the word of Allah. So if we're taking them at their word, and I have more I'm going to put up and get out of this here. Yeah, let me get the mouse back. Sorry. Yeah, stop sharing. Here we go. Excuse me.
The Quran also says that the Jews worshipped Ezra. Also, what is that? 530. I'd have to look it up. 533, I believe it is. It says that the Jews worshipped Ezra as the son of God, and then it goes on to say, the verse goes on to say, is that the Christians worship. What was that? What did I say that was? 30. 29. Well, I think it's 29, 30.
Yeah, there's a lot of this stuff. Now, I'm going to pick a couple of these, a couple other ones here. One is from, again, Surah 2. This is from 60, verse 61. It is easy for them to slay people and kill innocents. Nothing in this world is dear to their hearts than shedding blood and murdering human beings. They never give up this trait, even with the messengers and the prophets. Allah says, and slew the prophets wrongfully. I mean, again, blatant anti-Semitism, blatant hatred against the Jews. Is it This is so filled throughout the Quran. There's Eric, you sent me a link to this, and and I looked at it, and I tried to separate it by putting it in order, chronological order, and I just sat there. As I'm going through this, I'm kind of like, whoa, there's an awful lot here. Al Imran, I believe that is chapter 3. Am I right? Or is that chapter 4? They used to fabricate things, falsely ascribe them to Allah. Allah Almighty says this is because they say we have no duty to the Gentiles. They speak a lie concerning Allah knowingly. So he would say Jews lied knowingly. And there's, again, so many scriptures that are blatantly anti-Semitic. But the thing I taught my students over and over again is that the very existence of the Jew is a denial of the Islamic faith, because the Jews are descended from Isaac. All right, the family of Isaac. And then you get to Jacob. Who becomes, his name is changed to Israel. Guess what? That would mean that this belief structure that the followers of Muhammad created, that Ishmael was the chosen one. By the way, Eric, I have a question. Have you ever seen in the Quran any mention of Ishmael's descendants?
Not in the Quran, no. In Genesis, I believe we have a mention of the descendants of Ishmael, but not in the Quran. Not that I'm aware of, anyway.
Well, that's where it gets humorous to me. I mean, Allah doesn't know the descendants of Ishmael. But
it only mentions a few people alone in the Quran too. I'll find it for you. Hold on.
Yeah, this is the stuff. I mean, this very blatant hatred is taught and taught and taught and retaught. It is there for the purpose of making bold, hateful statements and to encourage his people in hate. And now 17 times a day, people are saying these hateful things in their prayers. They're being encouraged in their hatred to claim that they are praying hatred. That is, it's vile. So this is one of the reasons, that I will come out and say, if mosques are going up in your neighborhood, and you're doing nothing, are you encouraged, without knowing more, by doing nothing, are you encouraging the teaching of this hatred?
Silence is violence.
Yeah, this is where we get to the point where if you do nothing, I can't be a bystander anymore. It's wrong. I forced a bystander to act when I was younger. And at some point, my father had said to me, "You're responsible for what you know." When I was younger, I had somebody try to steal my bike right in front of me at knife point. And these people were just being innocent bystanders. They were walking by like nothing was happening. And I looked at them and I said, "Oh, when somebody holds a knife on you, I'm just going to walk by." They stopped. The guy holding the knife looks at me and says, "I can't believe you did that." And he ran away. Oh, you can't be an innocent bystander. There's no innocence in watching something happen. There is no innocence. And yes, did you find what you're looking for, Eric?
No, I did not. There was a list of the number of people that are the prophets listed in the Quran, and I think it's only like 19, if that even. I'm willing to be wrong on that, but I know it's
133,000. I think is the claim.
They said, well, that's 120,000 prophets, but only 19 are listed in the Quran. Well, whatever happened to the 119,900 and whatever?
Yeah.
So when you look at how the disingenuousness of the Quran as far as providing a historicity, again, when we start looking at locations,
I'm starting to like that word.
Okay, when we start looking at the names of specific people. When we start getting down to the specifics of things, it's very, very short on those. But when you're absolutely right, when we start looking at the anti-Semitism, and then the fact that it gets so many things wrong. And I found that verse is 530, and here's what it says. It's a Sahih International Version. It says, the Jews say Ezra is the son of Allah, and the Christians say the Messiah is the son of Allah. That is their statement from their mouths. They imitate the sayings of those who disbelieve before them. May Allah destroy them. How are they deluded? So here in 530, you have a clear statement that the author of the Quran wants to destroy Christians for believing that Jesus is the Son of God, but also destroy the Jews for believing that Ezra is the Son of God. So the next question then becomes, what Jews think that Ezra is the Son of God? And we had a certain imam out of Houston, Texas, try to make that statement on the show one night. And
He's not an imam, correction. He's not an imam. You can't call him an imam. He's no longer imam. He got promoted. He failed upward. He's now a kitababa with something or other. Just so you know.
He's a what?
Yeah. I don't know. Kitababa. I don't know. He's
a sheikh.
Teaches now. He's on call. He's an on-call guy. He gets all over
that's
Houston.
right.
I don't know. Yeah.
So like he's an on-call chaplain or something.
Yeah.
All right, but okay. The fact is that he insisted that there's proof out there that there are groups of Jews who believe that Ezra is the son of God, just as Christians believe that Jesus is the son of God. And I told him, I said, well, you go ahead and you keep talking, and I'm going to go look it up for him. I've looked to this. Nobody can find this group of Jews who believe that Jesus, or that Ezra is the son of God in the same way that the Christians believe that Jesus is the son of God. So here again,
come on, it's common knowledge. Common knowledge that this is.
Maybe it's in the Encyclopedia of Islam. It's probably, it may be located there. However, any sources, and this drives back to my original point when I was speaking to earlier. Any sources that are any Islamic sources, whether they're Hadith sources, sources from the biography, the Sirah of Muhammad, or the history or commentary, I don't trust. Because why? They're too far removed. They're 2 centuries too late to have any semblance of credibility at all. And this is when we start saying, this is why I said I'm going to go find out. I'm going to go find out what these three what evidence do they have for these 3 tribes. And I already got a line on a book by a guy by the name of Stillman, is his name, Norman Stillman. It looks like I'm going to fork out $40 for it, but I'm going to see what old Norman has to say about this and find out what his sources are. I mean, if they are anything other than Islamic sources, then we're going to have to conclude that the Banu Qurayza, the Banu Nadir, and the Banu Qurayqa, whatever you pronounce their names, did not exist. And these are just made up stories, again, just like the people who were
supposedly in Mecca.
The people in Mecca, right, in the 7th century, were pagans. They had these pagan beliefs at the Kaaba, and they had 360 idols at the Kaaba. Well, where's your proof for that outside of your Islamic sources? There isn't any. There's no archaeological evidence. There's no manuscript evidence. Mecca's not even on a map until the 8th century or the 9th century. I'm sorry. The earliest map they have of Mecca is the 9th century. 941, I think, is the date. So when you start looking at the historicity of this entire thing, it's a house of cards all built upon sole Islamic sources. There's nothing out there extra Quranic, extra Islamic, because when we talk about extra biblical sources, there's nothing out there and any extra Quranic sources that support that. And I was going to tell you, Paul, I got Monday, Thursday services here in 15 minutes.
Okay.
So I got to run, my brother.
Okay. Thank you for joining us.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing those verses with me. I've got a couple more to go through. Here's another one.
All right. God bless everybody.
Thank you. Another verse here. And it's, you know what? I'm just going to share my screen, make life easier. All right. Let's do that. Share. I'm just going to put this up, make life easier by putting it over here. I can make this easier for everybody. Okay. And I'm just going to grow the screen so everybody can see it. Here's one. Almeida is chapter 5, 5 verse 13. Disobeying Almighty Allah and never observing his commands. Allah says, and because of their breaking their covenant, we have cursed them and made hard their hearts. So here we have another anti-Semitic statement that this God Allah has cursed the Jews. I mean, what does that mean? That here they keep saying that that if that's actually true, we have a problem, because Allah has made statements that he's preserved, his word, that the Jews have the word, that they have that it has this statements over and over again that the Jews receive the word, but to turn around and say, well, they have the word, but that kind of means something isn't actually being told. You're not being told the whole story. Let's look at this next one. They love to listen to lies concerning this, Allah says, and of the Jews, listeners for the sake of falsehood, listeners on behalf of other folk. These are, again, when you're taught this as scripture, we have a problem. It is teaching hatred. It is teaching hatred. Now, the children are present in the room. Regardless, this is in their, quote, holy books. And this is the stuff that has to be discussed. It must be discussed. And this should be concerning to every place where mosques are being built. What are they going to do to the Jews in the area? Well, I'll tell you what they did in France. And every European country where the Muslims have come into since we're talking about the 1960s, where when they get to a certain percentage, the Muslims leave. The Jews leave because they start getting attacked. These acts of hatred just continue to happen. It's not a pretty picture. When I was there in 2016. There was a Red, I think you want your screen on. You're not your screen. There you go. All right. When in 2016, when I was there, a Jewish rabbi who took us to see five, I believe it was 5 Muslim imams who led an area in Berlin, and he took us there, and we asked him if everything was peaceful. He says, well, things are peaceful in Israel, things are peaceful here. When an attack happens in Israel, we have problems here. And we asked him if he felt safe. He says, I feel safe now that my family is not here. His family went to Israel. So that's something to think about. This is the stuff that when we keep silent, something's wrong. Now, as you can see, there's a bunch of verses here. I am not even going to get through all of them. Almeida, verse 64, it says, the Jews say Allah's hand is fettered. Their hands are fettered, Allah is saying, and they are accursed for saying so. Well, if they don't believe Allah is God, I mean, that's something to think about. They don't believe Allah is God. It says, I mean, that's really something to think about. I mean, okay, I'll give them that. I don't think Allah's a big enough being to be considered a God. I think he's very, very small. You can take him out of the box, put him back in again, and okay, because Allah doesn't know a lot. I mean, you read the Quran, he's the God of perhaps. He's the God that doesn't know. So we can't know these things. And if you're following Allah, but the God of the Jews does. Let's keep going. I've all again. I say I've only touched a bit of this. I'm going to talk about another topic in a minute, but there's just so many. As you can see, I've gone through and I've only addressed a few verses here. You can go to if you pick up my book, The Cancer of Civilization Jihad. You can go to the back of the book, and there's an appendix where it talks about all these verses that are related to violence. Oh, yeah, and some of those are in here. This hatred of Jews, it's part of, and it's stuck within Islam. Why? Because Muhammad hated the Jews simply because they would not accept him. They would laugh at his stories because he couldn't get the stories correct. And that was insulting. Again, Muhammad is the one who told people to go kill poets. Now, when you get, we have a show here in the States that's been called Saturday Night Live. When a politician made it to Saturday Night Live, they would make fun of him and they would totally humiliate him. And politicians have been humiliated here in the States for, now we can say, centuries. And part of that is being a politician. You don't kill them for it, but Muhammad would for anybody that would humiliate him. And that's one of the reasons why that's happened today. They look at Muhammad's example. If Muhammad hates Jews, the Muslims are forced to hate Jews. It's not something they can control. Now, Red, if you want to speak, let me know, because I muted you because you're the background noise. I apologize. let me know. There is just so much. Now, because this is Ramadan, and because there is so much jihad, I don't want to miss that. And there is one other topic I want to get into also, which has to do with our borders in the United States. But here we are. I'm just going to share my screen here with this one. I look at a lot of things that have to do with Jihad Watch. I look at I watch the religionofpeace.com. Keep up with things. All right. Okay, I'm going to take you off mute just in case. Oh, nope. Okay. Let me know when you want to unmute. I'm sorry. Okay. If you're all right. And here we go. This next tab I'm going to share with you should have us all concerned and praying for our friends who are in other countries, wherever Christianity or wherever non-Muslims are during this month of Ramadan, because this is a month where they have no problem going out and killing. It sounds horrible. And let me just put that down. Okay. 30 killed in 2 days of attacks in the Democratic Republic of Congo. This is reported by the Red Cross on Tuesday. Over 30 people were killed in attacks by suspected jihadi forces on Sunday and Monday in northeast Democratic Republic Congo's troubled Ituri province, the local Red Cross said. Rebels from the Allied Democratic Forces, one of the most notorious armed groups, attacked the population in 2 villages around Kamando, 75 kilometers south of Bunia, the capital of the volatile Ituri province, as well as attacking villages of Mangusu, where 17 civilians died, and Shari Moya, where 9 were killed. The assailants also targeted a bridge over the Ituri River, killing 4 more. Since yesterday, we have heard light and heavy gunfire coming from Mangusu and Shari Moya, confirmed Daniel Haribo. According to Haribo, the rebels first entered Shari Moya on Sunday and then Mangusu on Monday morning. There, the bodies of some 17 victims were tied up, and their throats were slit, and others had been shot dead. Yeah, how can we not warn others about what's happening? Somebody explain that to me. How can we not warn others about what's happening? Jihad and Ramadan go together. People, wake up, wake up. Now, I'm going to share my screen here because I really would love for people to look at this other piece. And this is, my friend Todd Bensman writes articles that I would share every week if I can. Todd is an incredible national security fellow who works for the Center for Immigration Studies. And I have been following this story of the Texas governor's, what's the right terminology here? He's been following, and I'm just gonna, yeah. I've been following this story because Texas's governor decided that he would be bold. And what do I mean by bold? He would not wait for Biden to act. What he would do is simply act for the protection of the Texas people. Well, you know what? I think he's right. So what he did was he instituted, maybe let's read this article. Governor Greg Abbott's week-old enhanced safety inspections operations at border bridges, which significantly impeded international trade from Mexico, has yielded its first fruit. A Mexican border state governor came to the negotiating table and cut a deal with Abbott to reduce illegal immigration on his side. The governor of Nuevo León, Samuel Alejandro Garcia Sepulveda, has begun and will continue border security enhancement measures at ports of entry along the Rio Grande River to prevent illegal immigration from Nuevo León into Texas, Abbott announced at a press conference on Laredo. In return for Nuevo León's security measures against illegal immigration, Abbott said he immediately ordered a cessation of the truck safety inspections that had all but shut down the Columbia Solidarity International Bridge near Laredo, the nation's busiest and for commercial vehicles. Mexican business interests had pled with the Mexican governor to strike a deal with Abbott, Mexican media reported. Wednesday announcement is notable in several ways. For one, for an American state has apparently for the first time successfully usurped federal responsibility for national diplomacy by enacting its own punitive measures that forced a sovereign country, in this case Mexico, to comply with its wishes on a national issue like cross-border immigration. Now, it's interesting how they're doing it. They're addressing the states within Mexico, not the federales. That's important to notice. So they're addressing this state by state, and it's working. That's something to say. I'm going to recommend people follow this. Go to cis.org and subscribe. I subscribe myself. There's a lot of important information out there on this. Now, I have been paying attention to a lot of articles out there and stuff, and one of the other ones that caught my eye, which kind of shocked me, that it is again in the news, was pointed out by Jihad Watch. And like I said, I'm really shocked that this came out in the news again. Now, Jihad Watch has Christine Douglas Williams, a Canadian who writes for them. And here's what she wrote. The title is Canada. Self-described Muslim Brotherhood charity seeks court shutdown of federal audit charging systemic Islamophobia. Yeah. They got caught with their hands in the cookie jar helping out terrorist entities, so they got a federal audit. Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. No. Yeah. It is the government's responsibility to make sure they shut down terrorist financing operations. Oh, so what are we talking about? Let's listen closely to this article. I like Christine Douglas Williams because she writes well and she's an excellent researcher. She wrote, it is reprehensible to single out any particular group due to discrimination based on a group's identity. In exactly the same manner, it's reprehensible for any group abuse to the system and charge discrimination without evidence, especially when it has an unsavory past, as is the case with the Muslim Association of Canada. UPI, the United Press International, reported some disturbing findings about the Muslim Association of Canada and its connection to Irfan Canada. That's the Islamic, oh my gosh. We'll get into that in a minute. Irfan Canada. Muslim Association of Canada, one of the largest Muslim organizations in the country, is being accused of funneling money to designated terrorist organizations. A Canada police raid found that MAC gave $296,514 to Irfan Canada between 2001 and 2010. That was written by, Ronald's son. Think about it. They gave money to Hamas. There's another report. Came from 24news.Canada. The Mounties, citing Canada's revenue agency, disclosed that the Muslim Association of Canada gave $296,514 to Irfan Canada. Oh, yeah. Who finances Hamas? Oh, and what does Hamas do? They try to kill Jews. Oh, so is this all related to the topic? Absolutely. Muslim Association of Canada is the self-described Muslim Brotherhood founded group, but its own description suddenly went missing from its group. Hamas is an offshoot of the Muslim Brotherhood. So is it any surprise they're financing their own war against Israel? How did they come out and start claiming Islamophobia when they're financing a terrorist group? This is the stuff you have to sit there and go, how can they not know these things? How can they not be taking, paying attention? I keep thinking about how important it is to get the truth out. Today I have spent, to say thank you, Gary, for joining us. It's been a while. We missed having you. Please, Gary, let me put a link in there for you. Just a second. I think I can do that real quick. Let me just see if I can. Yeah, you can join us, Gary, if you want, if you'd like. If you join us, then you can. All right. There is something important to understand that we are not doing as Christians, as Americans, that we are not doing. It is not standing up for our Jewish brethren. By remaining silent, we are allowing another future genocide. By not standing up and saying, look, this faith structure that calls itself Islam today promotes hate speech, promotes anti-Semitism. By not standing up and pointing these things out, we are allowing another genocide. Do you want to be responsible for that? I, for one, do not. That's why I said never again at the beginning of my presentation. Never again. We have to be careful. We have to be watchful. Welcome, Gary. I'll add you right to the stream. Thank you for joining us.
Paul, it's a pleasure to be here with you.
Welcome, Gary. I'll add you right to the stream. Oh, can you turn down your sound? Or do you have a headset?
Oh, is my sound too loud?
Oh, we can hear you. It's a double. We hear the echo.
Let's see if I can turn it down. I'm sorry.
Okay. Oh, we can hear you. It's a double. We hear the echo.
Let's see if I can turn it down. I'm sorry. Okay. I see. Echo. I'm going to get out of the place
Well,
I
did you
was
want to
before,
you want to
yes.
say something, Gary?
Okay. I see.
I'm
Echo.
I'm gonna try to cancel this.
All right, I can. Okay. We have to become the people who fight. And what does that mean today? It's all on where God has for you to go. Whether that means fighting for a new politician, whether that means standing up and saying, my kids should not have to wear masks, whether that means looking at your child's curriculum and making sure that your child's not being subjected to pornography or to homosexuality between the ages of kindergarten and sixth grade.
Or
These things are
yeah,
happening.
or wait, stop, sorry. No,
Oh,
or
you're
to the
breaking
new
up, Brad.
science. Okay. Oh, am I? I'm sorry. I'm gonna try.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Is it
Okay.
better? Okay.
Yeah, we can hear
So
now. Yeah.
the new science that boys are girls and girls are boys. And just because you have boy parts and people tell you that they have boy parts doesn't mean that you're boy parts, and vice versa. This is actually being taught in the New Jersey school system. So yeah, it's gone beyond just the other stuff. It's now, no, it is bad. I'm just saying, it is very bad. Okay? That's all.
It's and this is the stuff I have been watching. I shouldn't say watching because I have a TV, but I don't connect it to the news. I don't connect it to stations, and there's a reason for that because first of all, I don't want to pay for cable. I'm too lazy and I'm too cheap. And I look at the stuff. Okay, and Gary, if you want to join us, you have to unmute yourself.
Hello, Paul. Is that better?
Now it works. Yay!
Yeah. Well, I had YouTube going at the same time. I think that was the problem.
So, what do you think about all that you've heard today? Or do you have any concerns that you would like to share?
Do I have any concerns? Well, I want people to know that, Paul, you pursue the truth, and that's what I pursue, and I think many people do. And I wish you had a larger platform. I really do, Paul. Because the history, I'm a history buff. You are Mr. History to me. So I'm, I love history, love knowing about history and how things came about. And you and I go back a ways, don't we?
Well, about 5 years from BTR.
5-6 years, yeah, at least.
Actually, this is going to be my 6th year. This September will be the 6th year. Yeah.
I remember when you came on board as a newbie.
Oh, I was real nervous. I think it was only like an hour-long show or half-hour show to begin with. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was wonderful, Paul. It was wonderful. I love newbies. I really do. And to bring them from where they were to where we are. I know you and I think alike. I've listened to you countless hours, and we do think alike. And the reason is history.
Both Eric and I are retired social studies teachers. I might be going back into it. This is the stuff that's going on. We had to be thinking about even the stuff I talk about the Ukraine. And I say this, we can't trust any of our news. I've never seen a period of history where we can't trust our news. I actually had to go to a European search engine to find anything that I wouldn't consider Russian disinformation. And even the sources I found there, when I checked with Clara Lopez, she said they were, even the sources I found from there, it was pretty much Russian or Ukrainian disinformation. And, I look at that. What happened to searching for the truth? We have journalists that's supposed to be their job, and they don't do it. So people like me, people like Eric, everybody here, we're forced to do it on our own. That's one of the reasons why Project Veritas is important today. I'm still spellbound with if you're not paying attention to what's happening with Project Veritas, there's another issue altogether. Project Veritas has been investigated by the Department of Justice to the point where they have issued secret subpoenas and warrants for their
diary. For a diary. Okay?
That was returned to them.
What the hell is in that diary? No. What the hell is on the diary? Dude, I thought, Veritas needs to publish this now. They're like, well, we're going to take the higher ground. Screw you, Project Veritas.
No, there's a reason. If they publish, I've heard some of what's in there. And I don't know if it's verified or not, but the stuff I've heard.
No, it's been verified. The FBI verified it. The FBI verified the whole investigation. They don't deny it. It is her freaking diary. But no, there's more to it than the sexual shit. There is something in that diary. You do not send the FBI. You do not send the DOJ to do what they did just because there's sexual allegations. Okay? No. There is something in this diary, okay, that they do not want to get out. That diary needs to be published in full, in its entirety. Okay? Right? Because there is something.
I think it will be at some point. I mean, considering how selfish the Bidens are over money, I wouldn't be a doubt if Ashley decides to make some money off it. Yeah. I think the FBI should be forced to publish it because it's been released and it's been given to them. There's nothing wrong with filing FOIAs, people. Freedom of Information Act request. You can submit a request to see Ashley Biden's diary, since it's so important to the FBI. There's no guarantee that you'll get it, but there's nothing wrong or nothing illegal with you requesting to be able to see that diary. I think the more people that do it, the more chances there that the FBI may actually share it with some.
So Paul, is there a cost to
it's free
requesting the diary? I mean,
no, this is where all you have to do. This is where I say it's totally free.
I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about what is the cost.
So the actual cost, what you do is you go in to you'd have to go to the Department of Justice to file your Freedom of Information Act, and you look for the online application, and you fill out the information saying you consider this. I would fill it out and state that this is a national security concern because it has violated our citizens, the citizens of America's freedom of press. So this is a national security concern at this point. What is in these diaries that is a violation of national security? So we have so you can request this. Now, what does it cost you? Nothing. Here's why I say it request. The cost is nothing. You ready? If you ask for the information in an electronic format, it gets sent to you via email, and there's no copies made. So that's where instead of costing $20 or $30, here's the catch. When I do this, I always say I'll spend up to $20.
Thank you.
All right. I always say I'll spend up to $20, and I get I'd say 90% of the FOIAs I have filled out, I have received. You have to be very specific in your reasoning. You have to designate that. I think that's one of my next sessions I'll actually do, or I'll just make a YouTube on how to fill out a FOIA, because I think
Okay.
this is all important today. Yes, go ahead, Gary.
One thing, when I say what is the cost, I don't mean monetary.
Oh, maybe 15 minutes. That's how long it takes to fill one out at the most.
So, well, okay, you fill it out and you get the information and everything else is all honky dory. It's free or whatever the cost might be for that information. Seeking the information, what is the cost?
Well, you have to consider that the DOJ, the FBI probably has your private email. They probably have your phone number, your cell number. So the actual cost, I would say, is nothing at this point. There's nothing that if they're looking at you and they think you're of interest, they've probably already tapped your computer.
Yeah.
Under Obama, I was followed by 2 black Suburbans.
Yeah.
So
I remember that.
yeah. So, when Obama comes out and starts having people, innocent citizens who are just journalists, that's what I was. I was writing for Brenner Brief News back then, and I was also writing for People's Pundit and Daily. So I can't remember which one it was during that time, but when you're a journalist and you're writing and the government decides to send people to follow you around, it becomes a joke. Let them know they're there, and take pictures. Take pictures of their license plates. Those are the things you need to do. Everybody has this is the cool thing. Because we went to cell phones, everybody has a digital camera. Oh, cool. Take those pictures, upload them, and share them someplace. Hey, had this FBI van following me around today, or I say to do those things because we can't trust the government right now. That is the unfortunate factual truth, because under Biden's government, journalism, or true journalism, is not to be trusted. Censorship is run amok, where it's a possibility after today's show I will get another strike and have to go to producing my show solely on Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble.
So you know what? You say that we can't trust the media anymore. I say we could have never trusted the media.
There was a point in time when I was very young. We used to trust a guy named Walter Cronkite, and
Yes,
then
I
he became
remember him. He was awesome.
Yeah, and then
And I believed him.
Yeah, and then we came to a point where we learned that he's not telling us the truth.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly right. And everything that I've heard from the media since then turns out to be false in the end. I mean, not everything. If they talk about bunnies or they talk about, kind of BS stuff, that doesn't matter. But what matters is they never tell us the truth about what matters.
Until the Congress is not allowed to make laws that exclude the members of the Congress, we will forever be negatively affected by the laws they make. I think that we have certain individuals, especially the current Speaker of the House, who are financially benefiting from insider trading. We know that to be factual, and we know that they are allowed that information, and they are allowed to commit these crimes.
Right.
We call them felonies.
Yeah. Under Canadian law, and I'm sure American law, we have certain rights, rights under God. And I think they violate every aspect of that right. In general, anytime I hear the government talk, your side or mine, doesn't matter. They are fully against Christians. And if it's not obvious to anybody, I don't know what to say.
I think here's the thing I tell people about. I go to, we have a local group we call a Patriot group. In Monroe County, it's called the Patriot Assembly of Monroe County. And one of the things we do is we try to keep each other informed. We have someone who'll present on prepping sometimes. We have someone like me who will present on the dangers of jihad. We have somebody who will present on various different things. But the other thing we'll do is we'll try to find people who can present candidates who will stand for freedom and will understand what it means to fight for freedom. We invite all the candidates, but it never ceases to amaze me. Even after you invite all of them, the only ones interested in coming are the ones who want to fight for freedom. That says something about that other side that supports communism. It says something about them that they don't want to go and present to people who believe in freedom. In Canada, one of the biggest difficulties I have not been allowed to go to Canada since they decided to put restrictions. I will not be vaccinated. I will not get a jab to make somebody else happy. I consider them extremely dangerous. At least for me, and it may be for you, but I consider them extremely dangerous for a number of reasons. If you simply read the data, that is incredibly shocking. I consider it extremely dangerous that someone would consider giving their child one of these jabs when the data that is currently coming out, speaking of a 5,000% jump in myocarditis in children. 5,000.
I agree with you, Paul. I agree with you 100%. And I just learned recently that some of those vaccines, or if not all, I'm not sure about that, they're have snake venom in them. And that snake venom is cobra and some snake from China that I can't recall the name. I'm sorry about that.
But do you have a source for that?
Yes, I do, and I'll share it right now.
Yeah.
Sure.
Put it in the link. So I mean, when I hear information like that, I'd like to look it up and check it.
You know what? You know me. I want the truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want the truth, and I see this, and it comes from. I'm going to look it up. I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, if you can post it into the YouTube link there, that, or you can I don't know.
Can I do it right here?
Go to private. Go to comments over on the right, or you should hit private comments. Yeah, and I can receive it when you post private chat. Put it there, and I can post it.
Yeah, I don't like spreading misinformation or anything, but this is very compelling, and I don't know. I trust some doctors, not all, some.
The ones that I've been following have been McCullen. I recommend. I have an app that I love, and it is called Telegram. And I follow Dr. Peter McCullough, and his information there has been outstanding. I like Epoch Times as well. Project Veritas. Yes. I'm listed on Telegram too, so I post videos as well on Telegram. There's a lot of information out there, people. That this is the stuff that's scary. The information is there, and your news media is keeping it from you, and that's what bothers me the most. They would instead of restricting us, instead.
Did I lose you? I lost you.
No, he's think he got bumped off.
Oh, okay. While
You'll have
we're
to give him
waiting.
a minute to
Sorry,
come back.
I pushed the
There you are.
wrong button. Sorry about that.
Where'd you go?
I think one of the dangers we have today is because there's been such a push for censorship by social media giants that we can't trust what we are learning and we have to be very, very careful. And this is where I try to find what I consider reliable sources. And that's why I'm sharing out. Dr. Peter McCullough is one of those through Telegram. You can get updates, American Frontline Doctors as well. And he tends to say those are a few that I trust as far as the vaccine. And what got me into actually looking into this whole thing, back in March of, if you've been listening, you know that back in March of 2020, I reported this as a bioweapon. This COVID thing is a bioweapon.
Yes, indeed.
And
I remember that.
I beat the president of the United States by saying that. Now, why did I come out and say that? Because it was only killing older people. And then for some insanely disgusting, vile reason, they decided to purposely, I say purposely, and I close my eyes because it makes me angry. If you ever work in healthcare, you will understand what I'm saying. If you ever worked in healthcare, you know that nursing homes have never been designed to deal with communicable diseases. In fact, they're designed to not deal with communicable diseases. And the history of nursing homes and communicable diseases are, if somebody gets one of those, you send them to the hospital where they can deal with communicable diseases. So in places like my state, where the despicable, murderous past governor killed off hundreds and thousands of elderly people. My father is in elder care. So, yeah, concerned. Yeah.
Do you like this one better?
We have to fight for truth to get the truth out. And that's what it comes down to. We're running out of time, so I'm going to play a thing from my book. But what I want you to think about today before I do that is, what can you do to get the truth out? You can't be silent. Being silent is dangerous to you, to your family, to your friends, and to those who could hear the truth from you. So get out there and share the truth. And I'm just going to share a little bit more on a video of my last book. And I'm just, if you want to support my work, this is the best way you can do it right now. Go to Amazon, find a book that I've put out that you don't have, and purchase it. That's the best thing I can do right now. God bless you all. Thank you.
Support Paul. Do it.
Jihad is affecting you whether you know it or not. This book, The Cancer of Civilization Jihad, has 20 chapters, and it starts out explaining what the hijra is, which is the word for migration. And from there, it goes on and it tells you many different things simply by asking questions, because questions are the way we learn. If you don't ask questions, you can't find the answers. Like I said, it starts out with questions. Chapter 2, are there irreconciled differences between the social norms of Western civilizations and those of Muslims in general? Islamic supremacy. That one's not a question. That's just it's a statement. Is there an Islamic social norm against telling the truth? Is slavery legal under Islamic social norms today? Are there racist social norms within Islamic beliefs? Is there an ethnic prejudice within Islam giving Arabs superiority? Are women considered less than equals in Islamic social norms? You keep hearing this social norms part of it every time, because the question is, are these normal behaviors? That's what social norms are, normal behaviors. Oh, this gets a lot more detailed. Are women considered less than equals? Are Muslim women required to wear the hijab? Do Islamic social norms make men see women as intellectual equals or sensual objects of pleasure? Is child marriage and forced marriage part of Islamic social norms? Is there an Islamic social norm requiring female genitalia mutilation? Is it an Islamic social norm that non-Muslim women are sexual prey for Muslim men? Is temporary marriage an Islamic social norm? In other words, prostitution in many ways. Is there a social norm in Islam that gives a husband the right to beat his wife? And this goes on. Again, there's 20 chapters in this book. The question is, do you want to be informed? Do you want to see for yourself if the behaviors I'm talking about are really related to Islam? That's the real question. If this sounds interesting to you, please go to Amazon or smashwords.com and pick up your paperback or your ebook today. Thank you.